And we're now at a stage where I feel like with Arsenal, Arteta has found, for the first time in his tenure, Arteta has got a proper core, that, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe even 7 players know for a fact they are starting that game. They are a guaranteed starter. They play with each other. They know each other on and off the pitch like brothers. That, I think, could be what separates us from the rest. When I look at our competition, which is seemingly Man City and Chelsea, I don't think they've got that, or I don't think they have it to our level, to be honest. And Liverpool have lost their core, and you're seeing what's happening to them.
Mm. Do you, when you look at the game yesterday, it was built up, wasn't it, as Caicedo v Rice? Obviously, you know about the Caicedo challenge, but there was a tackle Declan Rice put in. I don't know, but in about the first 15 minutes, he saved the goal, basically, didn't he? He hooked his foot around it.
But he made up for it.
No, I know, but no, it was a great tackle, but the touch from Neto was class.
Yeah. But you've said that you think he's the best midfield player on the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Go on, why?
I think that he's showing levels right now. Look, last time I was sat here, Paul Scholes looked at me in the eye and he said that Tonali was a better footballer than Declan Rice. And I don't want to disrespect Tonali here. I think he's borderline
or Paul
Scholes. Or Paul Scholes. I think he's borderline world class, if not world class. But I was actually very happy when that aired because I think it sort of showed how overshadowed Declan Rice's brilliance is. What we're witnessing week in, week out from Declan Rice, I think it's freakish. You are getting a player that is guaranteed 90 minutes, 3 times a week from August to May, constantly running up and down the pitch. There isn't a single skill, attribute, nothing that he lacks, in my opinion. He's always good for a goal. He scans the game. His awareness is unbelievable. Tracking back, his decision-making, flawless. Our top assister in the league. Constantly.
He takes corners, that's why.
The best set piece specialist. Why is that a discredit to his game?
You've riled yourself a bit.
don't let him do it.
No, I'm not going to let him.
Look,
the thing is with Luke, when you make a good point, he likes to try and banner it off.
Okay.
You know that Declan Rice is the best on the planet, but the thing is...
He's not the best.
I don't think he is.
Who do you have?
I love Pedri. I prefer midfielders like Pedri and stuff like that. He's probably the best.
How many
in the Premier
times a
League.
year do you watch Vitinha for you to say he's better than Rice?
No, mate. You've replied, so...
No, but I understand what you said about Declan Rice, right? He is amazing. He does things that catch the eye. But in terms of a midfielder, I want somebody who's brilliant on the ball. I don't even think he's the best on the ball in your midfield. Zubimendi, for me, is the key to Arsenal. And the fact that he got an early booking yesterday kind of took away from his game. And as a Chelsea fan, that's what I was focusing on before the game. I think Rice is amazing, right? Rice is incredible set pieces. He embodies everything you want from an English centre midfielder. But for me, when I want a centre midfielder, I want Kevin De Bruyne. I want somebody who's the best on the pitch, on the ball. But I
think that's a little bit. We can all like different midfielders, and when Adam said Pedri, that's, but I'm Vitinha, you just mentioned, but completely different players. So everyone's got their own strengths and weaknesses. But when you talk about Declan Rice, I've always said this, I feel like I'm watching Roy Keane, that type of player who can almost do everything. We sort of have midfield players now, don't we, where we say, OK, he's the deeper one, he's the creative one, or, you mentioned Zubimendi. OK, his job is to sort of, almost like what Busquets was, sit deep, get on the ball, get the team playing. So you like your midfielder like that. Somebody else likes a certain type of midfield player. But I think with Declan Rice, that's the best way I could describe him, where he feels like a Roy Keane to me, but he does all of those things, really. He just looks power. I never feel anyone can run past Declan Rice, even when someone tries to dribble past him. It's a bit like that when I used to watch Roy Keane. Stevie was like that. They had this power in this frame.
He's the most unbelievable athlete, though. I feel like you don't...
I think Declan Rice is fantastic. I'm just trying to throw out other midfielders. I don't think he's the best in the world. I think he's arguably the best in the Premier League. Would you take Jude over him, or... From an England
I class Jude more as like a number 10, really.
Okay.
And that's the point. That's a really good point, because when we talk about midfield players, and we go to that debate, don't we, always, Gerrard, Lampard, Scholes, it's almost because we saw them as the goal-scoring ones. We see Keane and Vieira and Petit as almost like, they're just like centre midfield players. Do you understand what I mean? And there's like almost different midfield players now, because there's 3 players playing in there more often than not, isn't he?
Is Declan Rice caught up in between being like... He's not an out-and-out attacking midfielder. He's not an out-and-out sitting. He's kind of just caught up.
I think he's whatever the he wants to be, if I'm honest. He is our midfield. And people also underestimate the best ability being availability. And he is always available. The past week we've just had, he played the whole game. Spurs, Bayern, Chelsea, didn't stop running end to end, creating chances. Good for a goal, like I said. We underestimate how important that is. And also, when we don't have the ball, he is our leader without the armband. He's the one communicating with every player. You stay here, you go there. He is our captain. And like you said, it's like a Roy Keane, but people don't like to admit that because it's today's day and age. Everyone likes to look back. But what we're witnessing right now from Declan Rice, I think is revolutionary.
Oh, no. That's you've gone way too far. Revolutionary.
He's on track for a Ballon d'Or. If we win the league, if we win the league and the World Cup, Declan Rice.
That's a big if.
That goes straight in the thumbnail.
Arsenal favourites for the league.
I understand what you're saying,
World Cup. Declan Rice.
Revolutionary is ridiculous. Like Jamie played with Steven Gerrard. Like, I'm sorry, I love Declan Rice. He's not. He couldn't lay Steven Gerrard's boots. And I think Declan Rice is amazing for today's day and age. He couldn't talk to Paul Scholes. He couldn't talk to Frank Lampard. He couldn't talk to any of those midfielders.
I think the midfielders you've just mentioned there, they've all won big trophies, and I think they've all been Player of the Year. So I think Kevin De Bruyne's been perfect Player of the Year. Stevie has. I think Roy Keane has. I think if Declan Rice goes on to win those trophies, what you're saying there, I'm not quite sure about the Ballon d'Or, but I could see, if Arsenal win the league this year, I think Declan Rice would probably be seen as the guy who's not won them the league, but I would imagine he would get Player of the Year, I would say, Declan Rice. So then that does put him in that conversation with those midfield players. And I do believe Arsenal probably will win the league and Declan will get that trophy. But you've just mentioned before, Matt, about Arsenal have only lost one game this season, so they've had a brilliant season. Everyone thinks they're not head and shoulders above everybody else, but a level above this season, certainly with the squad as well. Does it worry you that you've had such a great start that you're not almost further ahead and there's still an awful long way to go? Does that sort of worry you and nag you at the back of your mind? Because I don't think City, Liverpool or Chelsea have been that consistent. They've all dropped points and lost really poor games where you wouldn't expect them to. So is there almost that nagging doubt that you wish you were another sort of 4 or 5 points further forward?
I'm not worried. I don't think that the word is worried. Maybe if you look back on the patterns, like me and Luke was saying before, there are patterns of us slipping up. But I'm not worried in the sense that we've ticked some of the toughest places this league has to offer off the list. You know, we've been to Old Trafford, been to Anfield, been to St James's Park, been Stadium of Light, going to Villa Park next week. We battered Spurs at home. We played City at home. City have been very inconsistent away from home. Chelsea have been very inconsistent at home. So I'm looking at us and our discipline and our consistency, and I think that it's a level above everyone else around us. I'm not discrediting Chelsea, were superb yesterday, still couldn't beat us. City, superb at Albion.
10 men.
I think
I understand.
11 against 11, they win.
But they still couldn't beat us. I understand. I'm not saying that they should have with 10 men, but they couldn't beat us. City were superb when they came to the Emirates, still couldn't beat us. And it's also, I'm sure we might come onto it in a little bit, it's also the depth is just unbelievable. I know yesterday didn't go as planned. We weren't, it was probably our worst performance of the season, but we didn't have our main centre-backs, both of them missing, and we've got Nketiah and Mosquera playing together for the first time in the league. I said to Luke beforehand, what happens if your two centre-backs get injured? Who have you got to come in? Ake and Stones. Would you back them to go to Stamford Bridge and take 3 points? Probably not.
You didn't take 3 points.
No, I understand.
Arsenal know that if we're up close and if Chelsea are putting on a bit of pressure as well, I think Arsenal are always going to have a downturn.
Do you think if you're 5 points behind now, if you could cut that to 2 or 3 by the time we sort of come out of the March international break? I know it's a long time, but that's when the real title run in. Do you think they'd bottle it?
Yeah, well, I mean, if it was 2 or 3, they'd still have to come to the Etihad in April. I can't remember the last time they won at the Etihad in a meaningful game.
I think what's really interesting, though, this season is that City fans almost feel like they are relying on Arsenal to drop rather than actually pointing towards this team is good enough to just keep doing what we're doing and eventually overtake them.
I think that
even when you were behind us in that season that you mentioned, you were sort of saying, this team is so good, we will eventually catch up.
Yeah, but what you got to remember is that the reason we're looking at Arsenal games where they drop points is because we're not winning the points ourselves. And you have dropped a few points, we've dropped a few points, but I think back to that treble year, like I said, you had 50 points that season. I remember on New Year's Eve, we played Everton at home, which was a poor Everton side, by the way, and we drew that game 1-1, and I was thinking, we're 8 points off them, heading into the new year, Arsenal stomping everyone, and look what happened there.
We've got a completely different squad, though. Look, you can't keep looking back on years. This is a different Arsenal team, different Arsenal squad. Way better than it was then.
It won't be a different team until they actually win it, though.
Yeah.
They're always going to have that.
Arsenal need to actually go and get a trophy because at the minute they're just pretty much bottle jobs with the Premier League. Everyone keeps catching them up. And that's a Geordie saying that in the suit.
When he said that.
So, yeah, squad or not, you just need to put proof.
I know it's not my segment, but I think that people are way too... It's like the world is watching and waiting for us to drop points.
Why is that? Why is it?
Because
you drew 2-2 at the Stadium of Light.
Yeah, I know.
You've just said you're the team to beat. Now, do you think when City were ahead, when Liverpool were ahead, do you not think people watching them games thinking, well, they drop points?
It's patterns. People look back and people are sort of hoping and praying on past patterns to come true again. But I think that there is a sense in everyone around us. Everyone knows that this is our league to lose.
You won about 14 and 16 games a couple of seasons ago, and it was the one game against Villa you lost, and you still didn't win the league.
But that
City
brings
were a
its
way
own
better
pressures.
team than you are now.
You say we know it's ours to lose. That's going to bring its own pressures within the dressing room.
30.
Outside of Gabriel Jesus, who's never available, no one's won it.
I do think the only way Arsenal don't win it, I think it's Arsenal will cost, not will. I think if you don't win the league, it'll be down to you. I don't think it's down to another team.
100, that's what I said.
Well, you were a good side last year. You got to the late stages of the Champions League. What happened in the league? You battered us 5-1, and everyone's saying this Arsenal team's so much better than Man City. You beat us by 3 points to second place.
We fell off a cliff. Liverpool ran.
But why did that happen? Why did you fall off a cliff? Could that happen again?
We had
It's
an
the same
injury.
team.
We had
You
an
said it's the
injury
same
crisis.
team.
No, it's not. Look at
How many players different is it?
Yes, plenty of players back fit. And by the way, we've also had an injury crisis this season, but it's sort of been overlooked because of the depth and cover that we have.
You've got to be fair. Like this season, Arsenal they've not blinked and they've missed Saliba through time. Gabriel, Odegaard, Saka.
We've got argued our best players.
Yeah, that's true. But they're still top of the league. I think the reason why Arsenal get a lot of flack is because I don't think we've seen it in the Premier League before a team finished second 3 years in a row.
You have. It was Arsenal.